Open worlds didn't become a thing in a day. They didn't start with today's blockbuster RPGs either. Decades ago, ambitious developers were already building massive living playgrounds, some so daring they baffle players and critics alike. These 10 overlooked gems mixed bold ideas with experimental design, often years before technology or audiences were ready. They may have flopped or faded into obscurity, but each one quietly laid the groundwork for the open-world adventures we love now. If you end up liking the content, please subscribe for more, and I'd appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up and tell me what you think down below. Love to hear it. Few series have influenced open-world RPGs like Ultima and Ultima 9. Ascension aimed to be the grand finale of Lord British's legendary saga. Ambitious to a fault, it promised a fully 3D Britannia, a sweeping story to conclude decades of lore and unprecedented player freedom. At release, though, it was infamous for bugs, demanding hardware requirements, and controversial design changes that alienated longtime fans. Critics panned its clunky controls and technical woes, and many wrote it off as a disappointing end to a beloved franchise. Look past its rough launch, however, and Ascension reveals a visionary open world that foreshadowed the likes of Skyrim and The Witcher 3. Towns bustle with NPCs following daily routines, forests teem with wildlife, and dungeons hide intricate puzzles that encourage exploration over combat. The game's morality-driven narrative remains striking. As the Avatar, you must restore the corrupted virtues of Britannia, and your choices shape the land's fate. The real magic lies in how alive the world feels. Weather patterns shift dynamically, day turns to night in real time, and nearly every object is interactive. Players could bake bread, mix potions, and freely explore vast regions without loading screens. An astonishing feat for 1999. Even its orchestral soundtrack and fully voiced dialogue were ahead of their time, creating a sense of immersion few RPGs could match back then. Modern patches and fan-made fixes have tamed many of its infamous bugs, making it far more enjoyable today. While it will always be remembered as a flawed swan song, Ultima 9 also stands as a daring experiment that helped define the modern open-world RPG. For those willing to embrace its quirks and vintage charm, it's a time capsule of ambition, a game that stumbled on release but quietly shaped the future of the genre. Long before Sleeping Dogs carried its spiritual torch, True Crime Streets of LA delivered an ambitious, free-roaming action RPG hybrid that rivaled GTA in scale and style. You play as undercover cop Nick Kong, a wisecracking detective tasked with cleaning up a sprawling recreation of Los Angeles. The map was huge for its day, encompassing hundreds of miles of drivable streets, recognizable landmarks, and fully voiced pedestrians who react dynamically to your presence. It wasn't just a backdrop. It was a living city with traffic, random crimes, and secrets tucked into every corner. What made this stand out was its genre-blending gameplay. Gunfights offered third-person shooter action with slow-motion dives. Martial arts combat allowed for intricate melee combos and environmental takedowns, while high-speed car chases kept the adrenaline pumping. You could tackle story missions in any order, pursue side jobs like street racing or vigilante busts, and even issue tickets for minor traffic violations if you felt like playing by the book. A branching morality system tracked your choices. Play as a by-the-rules officer or lean into corruption, with multiple endings reflecting your path. The game wasn't perfect. Driving physics were slippery, AI inconsistent, and some missions bordered on absurd, but its ambition was undeniable. Featuring a hip-hop heavy soundtrack and celebrity voice work from stars like Christopher Walken and Snoop Dogg, it radiated early 2000s attitude. Though overshadowed by GTA's cultural dominance, True Crime remains a landmark in open-world design, pioneering ideas like reactive policing and player-driven morality that influenced later hits from Sleeping Dogs to modern Ubisoft sandboxes. For players craving a nostalgic dive into an LA that's as gritty as it is gleefully over the top, it still delivers a wild ride. Yeah! Pandemic Studios' The Saboteur is a stylish, noir-tinged open-world adventure that dared to mix stealth, action, and striking visual design into something unforgettable. Set in Nazi-occupied Paris, the game casts you as Sean Devlin, an Irish race car driver turned resistance fighter. What sets it apart is its art direction. Areas under heavy Nazi control are depicted in stark black and white, with only splashes of red and yellow breaking through. Liberate a district, and color floods back in, creating a powerful visual metaphor for hope and rebellion. Gameplay blends freeform sabotage with vertical exploration. You can climb almost any building, years before parkour became standard, plant explosives on fuel depots, or snipe guard from cathedral rooftops. Disguises let you infiltrate enemy bases, while fast cars and on-foot chases add adrenaline to stealthy operations. Every mission offers multiple approaches: sneak through sewers, bribe informants, or simply charge in guns blazing. The city feels alive, with jazz-filled hideouts and citizens who cheer your victories as Nazi patrols tighten their grip elsewhere. While praised for its ambition, the Saboteur struggled at launch. Technical bugs, uneven AI, and the closure of Pandemic Studios shortly after release kept it from reaching the mainstream audience it deserved. Yet time has turned it into a cult favorite. Its unique visual style, dynamic resistance mechanics, and richly atmospheric soundtrack still impress today. Few games capture the thrill of toppling an oppressive regime with such flair, and fewer still blend gameplay and symbolism so gracefully. For players seeking an open-world experience that fuses pulp action with artistic vision, the game remains an unforgettable ride through occupied Paris. Few licensed games dare to rewrite a movie's ending, but Scarface the World is Yours Boldly does exactly that. A what-if scenario where Tony Montana survives that infamous mansion shootout. Picking up right after the climactic scene of the 1983 film, the game drops you into a sprawling, neon-soaked Miami where Tony claws his way back to the top of the drug trade. Unlike typical crime sims, it's not just about chaos. It's about rebuilding an empire piece by piece, from laundering money to negotiating deals and taking over rival turf. What makes the game shine is its commitment to character. Tony, brought to life with a dead-on Al Pacino sound-alike, constantly spits profane one-liners and refuses to kill innocents, a moral code that ironically adds depth to his violent ascent. The game rewards flashy bravado. Ball's meter builds as you taunt enemies, letting you unleash devastating blind rage attacks when full. Business management plays a big role too. You'll buy fronts, smuggle goods, and strategically expand influence across Miami, transforming the typical GTA-style sandbox into a crime-themed empire builder. Visually, it captures the gaudy excess of 1980s Miami with sun-bleached beaches, rain-slick neon streets, and a pulsing soundtrack of Latin beats and classic 80s hits. Critics at the time were pleasantly surprised, praising its tight shooting mechanics and surprisingly deep economic systems. Yet despite strong reviews, it never achieved blockbuster status, overshadowed by juggernauts like GTA Vice City. Today, Scarface enjoys cult classic status among open-world fans who appreciate its mix of empire-building strategy and over-the-top action. It's a rare licensed game that not only honors its source material but dares to expand on it, giving players the power fantasy of becoming the ultimate kingpin, Tony's way and Tony's way only. Outward is the kind of open-world RPG that refuses to treat you like a chosen hero. Instead, it drops you into the harsh fantasy land of Arai as an ordinary adventurer. No destiny, no prophecy, just a backpack full of supplies and a world that couldn't care less if you live or die. From the moment you leave your humble home city, survival itself becomes the challenge. Hunger, thirst, and exhaustion are constant threats. Weather can kill you if you're not dressed properly. Even setting up a campfire requires planning and resources, forcing you to think about every step of your journey. Combat isn't about flashy combos or godlike powers. It's deliberate and methodical, demanding stamina management and careful timing. A single encounter with a bandit can turn deadly if you're unprepared. But failure doesn't mean a simple reload screen. Dying might see you captured by enemies, rescued by strangers, or waking up robbed and far from where you started. This dynamic consequence system creates unpredictable stories every time you play, making each trek through its wild landscapes feel personal and unique. Co-op play, both local and online, is where it really shines. Sharing the burden of survival with a friend transforms grueling expeditions into unforgettable adventures, from fighting through corrupted dungeons to hauling loot back across miles of treacherous terrain. Its visual style is modest compared to big-budget RPGs, but its sense of immersion is unmatched. You plan routes, pack gear, track your stamina, and savor every hard-won victory. Though overlooked at launch for its punishing systems and lack of handholding, Outward has grown into a cult classic. Expansions and quality-of-life updates have refined its mechanics, but its core remains unapologetically challenging. For players craving an open-world experience where survival feels real and every journey tells a different story, this stands as one of the most quietly revolutionary RPGs of the past decade. In 2002, German studio Piranha Bytes delivered Gothic 2, a game that showed just how alive an open world could feel long before emergent gameplay became an industry catchphrase. Set in a medieval fantasy land, the game drops you into a world that doesn't just exist for the player. It thrives on its own. Farmers work their fields, guards patrol city streets, and wildlife hunts or flees, depending on the time of day. NPCs react believably to your actions, gossip about your reputation, and treat you differently depending on your alliances. Every corner of the map is handcrafted and packed with danger, demanding exploration and rewarding curiosity with secrets, powerful gear, or hidden quests. Unlike many modern RPGs that shower players with tutorials and quest markers, the game trusts you to figure things out. There's no hand-holding. Enemies can, and will, wipe you out if you stray into areas above your level, and learning new skills requires finding the right teacher and paying with hard-earned gold. Combat is tough and deliberate, forcing you to master timing and positioning rather than button mash. That difficulty creates a palpable sense of growth. When you finally defeat a monster that once terrified you, the victory feels hard-won and meaningful. The narrative is equally layered. You can side with different factions, the militant paladins, rebellious mercenaries, or enigmatic fire mages, and your choices influence the balance of power. Combined with atmospheric music and a day-night cycle that changes NPC routines, Gothic 2 feels startlingly alive even today. Though its clunky controls and dated graphics scared off some players at launch, those who stuck with it found an open world richer and more reactive than many current gen blockbusters. Over 2 decades later, it remains a high watermark for immersive RPG design and a clear inspiration for later heavyweights like The Witcher 3 and Elden Ring.
A poorly made.
After Gothic 2 became a cult favorite, Piranha Bytes continued its legacy with 2009's Risen, a spiritual successor that carried forward the studio's trademark depth and challenge. Set on a volcanic island controlled by mysterious inquisitors and plagued by awakening titans, Risen wastes no time throwing you into its treacherous world. Shipwrecked and penniless, you must scavenge, barter, and fight your way to survival, all while deciding whether to align with the authoritarian Inquisition, the rebellious bandits, or the secretive mages. Much like its predecessors, it offers a world that feels indifferent to your presence. NPCs follow daily schedules, factions squabble for influence, and wildlife poses a constant threat if you wander unprepared. The island itself is compact compared to other open-world games, but it's densely packed with secrets, hidden caves, powerful artifacts, and branching quests that reward careful exploration. Every decision matters. Picking sides changes not only the story, but also the abilities and equipment you can access, encouraging multiple playthroughs to see every outcome. Combat is challenging and precise, blending melee, ranged, and magic attacks that require patience and timing. You can't simply grind to overpower enemies. Mastering mechanics and learning enemy patterns is key. Add in a moody soundtrack and atmospheric lighting that shifts with the weather, and Risen creates an experience that's as immersive as it is unforgiving. Though praised by RPG enthusiasts for its freedom and depth, Risen never achieved mainstream success, partly due to its steep learning curve and minimal marketing. Yet it stands as one of the most tightly designed open-world RPGs of its era, a game where exploration feels genuinely rewarding and danger always lurks just beyond the tree line. For those who love worlds that challenge as much as they captivate, this remains a hidden treasure worth rediscovering.
Hey.
You're talking about?
Released in 1999 for PC, Draken Order of the Flame is a reminder that open-world design can soar, literally. At a time when most RPGs kept players confined to forests and dungeons, this game let you take to the skies on the back of a dragon. You play as Rhine, a warrior searching for her kidnapped brother, who bonds with Arok, a resurrected dragon with a sardonic wit and a devastating flame breath. From the moment you climb onto its back and glide over sprawling valleys and snow-capped mountains, it's clear this isn't just another third-person action RPG. The brilliance of this game lies in its seamless blend of ground-based adventuring and aerial combat. On foot, you'll explore massive environments filled with puzzles, dungeons, and melee skirmishes that reward careful swordplay and smart use of magic. Then, with a whistle, the dragon descends, and the game transforms into a fast-paced aerial shooter, where you strafe enemy fortresses and duel rival dragons in open skies. Few games of the era, let alone today, capture that exhilarating shift in perspective so smoothly. Technically, it was a marvel for its time. Its huge, interconnected maps streamed in without loading screens, and its AI-driven enemies could engage you on land or in air. The orchestral soundtrack and voice acting added cinematic flair, while the partnership between Rhine and Arok gave the story unexpected warmth. Despite critical praise, Draken never found the audience it deserved, likely overshadowed by bigger RPGs and the dawn of new console generations. Yet its legacy persists. Fans still laud its sense of scale and freedom, and a cult following keeps its memory alive through mods and community servers. For anyone craving a different kind of open world, one where you can soar above the clouds and dive into combat at will, it remains a breathtaking hidden gem. If GTA and Far Cry had an unruly older cousin, it would be Boiling Point Road to Hell. Released in 2005 by Ukrainian developer Deep Shadows, this cult oddity dropped players into a sprawling South American country where nearly every system was interactive and dangerously unstable. You play as Saul Myers, a former soldier searching for his kidnapped daughter. But the real draw isn't the rescue mission. It's the sheer chaos of a world that reacts dynamically to everything you do. The game offered features years ahead of its time. 6 rival factions, from government forces to drug cartels, track your reputation, meaning a single stray bullet could ignite a full-scale war. Vehicles need fuel, weapons degrade, and hunger and fatigue affect performance, forcing you to plan every excursion. You could side with any group, double-cross them later, or simply roam the jungle freelancing odd jobs for cash. The map was enormous, covering hundreds of square kilometers without a single loading screen, an impressive feat in 2005. Of course, ambition came at a price. The game launched riddled with bugs, NPCs spawning in walls, quests breaking midstream, and AI that sometimes forgot how to drive. Critics panned its technical messiness, but many players were captivated by the emergent storytelling. No 2 playthroughs felt alike. A routine supply run could devolve into a multi-faction shootout or an impromptu smuggling ring. Today, Boiling Point is remembered as both a glorious disaster and a visionary sandbox. Its blend of survival mechanics, faction politics, and player freedom foreshadowed games like Stalker, Far Cry 2, and DayZ. For those willing to overlook its rough edges, it remains a fascinating snapshot of open-world ambition unbound by convention. Proof that sometimes innovation and instability go hand in hand.
Doesn't sound like I have much of a choice here.
Before open world became a marketing buzzword, Outcast quietly redefined what a 3D adventure could be. Released for PC in 1999, it transported players to the alien planet of Adelpha, an expansive, living ecosystem decades ahead of its time. You play as Cutter Slade, a wisecracking former Navy SEAL sent to recover a probe that could save Earth. Instead of narrow corridors, you explore 6 massive regions connected by portals, each with its own culture, economy, and weather systems. NPCs go about their daily routines, react to your actions, and remember your choices, creating a sense of immersion that rivaled anything of the era. Technically, it was a marvel. It used a proprietary voxel engine to render lush landscapes without a 3D accelerator card, delivering visuals that felt otherworldly in 1999. More than just a tech demo, the game embraced non-linear design. You could approach objectives in any order, barter with villagers, or incite rebellion against the oppressive talents. Its orchestral score, recorded by the Moscow Symphony Orchestra, gave the world an epic, cinematic weight that most contemporary games couldn't match. Yet despite critical acclaim, Outcast struggled commercially. Its hefty system requirements and steep learning curve scared off casual players, and it launched just as 3D hardware acceleration became standard, making its voxel graphics seem outdated overnight. But time has been kind. Modern players recognize it as a pioneer of systemic open-world storytelling, influencing everything from Far Cry to The Witcher. Remakes and fan mods have since introduced new generations to Adelpha's wonders, proving that this once-forgotten gem was blazing trails long before sandbox became a household term.